first to warm up with, but what you're trying to do is get about 75-80% onto the front leg when you lunge. Okay, so that means you go down into a forward squat pattern to get the weight here. When you push up, so if I'm coming down to here, I've put the weight into my heel. To push up, I push the heel down. That's the crucial part. Okay, think about pushing your heel down when you're pedaling. That will give you way more glute when you drive through. If you don't do that, if you drop down here and then push up like that, it's going to get a lot more knees, not much glute. So make sure you are coming forward, so you're biasing the single leg work and you're working on the muscles that you want to use when you're cycling, glutes and hammies, okay? Good thing about lunges is you can step it up. So as you get better with this, you can work on, I'll do the other side, loaded lunges. So these are 8 kilos, so that's 16 kilos. Just be careful how much you do, because you know, loading up your patellofemoral joint straight away may be too much. So if you're conditioned to this, that's fine. So weights are one way of doing it. The other way of doing it, if you don't have weights, is using a power band. So if you've got one of these things, these are great because you can use that as your load. So it's nice to mix it up a little bit, do a bit of variables. So that can be my front foot loading, okay? And the good thing about having it on the front foot is it forces you to think about loading down and pushing through that front leg. Okay, so it is a lunge, but it is much more biased to that front single leg, okay, and really working on through here, driving up to help you with your power. So that's a nice one to start off with. Again, with all these exercises, you can either choose to do 3 sets, as in 3 rounds of the same exercise and go from exercise to exercise to exercise, or you can just do 1 round of all of them, do it 3 times, up to you. Okay, next up is squats, essential for leg strength on the bike. Now you can do it in heaps of different ways. You can do it with a bar in your back, you can do a goblet squat like this, or you can do 2 kettlebells like I like doing, so splitting the weight into 2 and going this way. Now make sure when you are squatting, your feet are wide for this to give you wide base support, your knees are nice and out by you, over your feet if you like. So when you sort of squat down, your shins are vertical. I don't want you sort of too close like this, go a little bit further apart, and that'll give you a bit more base stability. When you're squatting, you've got to try and keep your upper body upright as you drop down and then pushing away. Trying to keep your weight even between your heels and your toes, okay? Not sort of loading forward onto your toes or sitting back on your heels too much. And try and avoid the temptation, like I just keep them up on my shoulders like this, try and avoid the temptation of dropping forward, because those weights are going to go forward. But also, you've got to keep your angles right. So when I see myself here, I want to keep my shin angle the same as my back angle. I don't want my back angle going forward too much, like I'm leaning forward. That turns into sort of a deadlift. So keep your body upright as much as you can when you squat down and let those knees go forward. The other thing I don't like doing is going too low, especially those with back problems. So you don't want to go, you know, if you've got a bit of a back problem, you don't want to go too low where you round your back out like that, especially under big load. Okay, so if you're getting those loads up, try and keep your hips just above your knees. Stays in the safety zone. Okay, third one up is deadlifts, and I mean Romanian deadlifts or hamstring deadlifts, and that's going to work a lot on obviously hamstring or that posterior chain, help you with the bike leg when you're down on the bars. These ones you can do like the squats. You can do it with weights, you can do it with a bar, you can do it with a band. So things at home you can use, and it's really helpful if you're not going to the gym and you want to do all this at home, you still can if you've got the equipment. So with your Romanian deadlifts, again, I like doing either using 2 kettlebells or 1, depends on what weight you've got with them. But these ones, same position of feet. They're as wide as the squat leg, knees as wide as the squat one. So with this one though, it's a little bit different to your squat. When you drop down into your deadlift, I don't want your bum going down, so your bum goes straight backwards and your shoulders go forward. So you can see it's sort of the opposite of a squat. Whereas a squat, your upper body was upright and your bum dropped down. This one, when you drop your weights down, your upper body goes forward and your hips go backwards. And you should find that if you get this right, you keep your spine in neutral, so you don't arch your back, you don't round your back. Keep your spine in neutral, sit your bum back like it's a filing cabinet. So it goes backwards and then it comes forward. Now a lot of people get this a little bit confused about where their bum should sit. You shouldn't drop it down into a normal deadlift. This is a Romanian. We're trying to focus on the hamstring. So keep your hips high. And think of like, that's the sort of position you're going to be in the bike as well. You're going to be down that position with your bum's high up on the seat and your upper body's forward. So it's really appropriate for those long rides when you're down on aero bars to get in that position and work those hamstrings in that position, okay? So that's a really nice one to do. Again, like I said, you can use a long bar, you can also use a band. You can even use the band to increase the load. So what I like doing, especially when I'm at home, if I want to increase the weight and all I've got is a couple of light kettlebells, you can then put the kettlebells with the band like that and then use that as the load, okay? And again, it's variable, so as I go down, it's a bit more forgiving, and then when I come up, it's a little bit harder. So again, with this one, try and remember that you keep your weight even through your feet and your heels, all right? And to come up from that position, don't go and arch your back. From that position there, push your hips forward, okay? That's the cue. So try and go hips back, bend at the hips, knees are bent but they don't come forward, and then hips forward again to that position there without overarching your back. Okay, the hip thrust is the last of the 4 in the leg set before we move to the chest. Now with this one, I would start unweighted until you get the technique right. And be careful not to load up too much anyway, because you've got a lot of leg loading days in the week if you're cycling. So remember, all these leg exercises that we're doing, keep the weight, either unweighted or whatever weight you're using, not too heavy, because you are just complementing those bike sessions. You're trying to improve technique, trying to improve a bit of strength to help you with that bike leg, not to replace it. So with this one, use a bench. Now at home, you could just use your sofa or your bed or anything like that. I would always put a band on because it's going to get more glutes. So this is where you can put more load on without putting more load this way, especially if you don't have much equipment at home. Now, I like using a bar if you don't have anything. This bar can be 5, 10, 20 kilos, fine. Like I said, don't load it up too much. If you don't have anything, start off with a broomstick to give you that technique and that positioning. So again, with your feet, go wide, just like a squat, just like a deadlift, knees out over your feet. Now, if you've got the band on, I'm already working on the glute here, so that's great. So with this position here, sit there on your sort of shoulder blades. You're going to push that up to the ceiling, but what I want you to try and think of is not arching your back, pushing it up when you go up. What I want you to think of is pushing your heels down. So tighten your core here, drive your heels through the floor, okay, to that point there. So you should be trying to get a full contraction through the glute and the hamstring, okay? So this is not really a quads exercise. This is dominating right through the back here again, because, hey, we've done a deadlift, and this is our second sort of back of the leg exercise. So with this one, try and go full extension at the top, okay? Right up to that lock, if you like, of the hips. So you're really getting a good contraction there. And you'll find that'll probably be enough for you. If you're just starting out with this stuff, this is going to be enough work through the back of the leg to try and keep up that tone, keep up that strength, and then you can start loading it up as you get better. Okay, last one on the legs is working on your calves, namely calf raises. So often forgotten one, really important for cyclists, especially if you're one of those people who has a bigger calf or like a smaller calf on one side than the other, or if you've had Achilles problems or any other sort of calf related injury or ankle injury that you're recovered from but haven't got quite the calf strength. Now, you don't really notice that on the bike too much, but trust me, if you start working on getting your calf raise even left and right, you'll be more even on the bike and less problems up the chain. If the calf is not doing a good enough job on one side, somewhere it's got to compensate and somewhere it's going to fatigue. So I would work on, for this set, for the bike leg, is doing calf raises on one leg off a step. So I would go onto one side off a step. Now you need to have the foot just right where those metatarsal heads are, hanging on the edge of the step. You can use this for balance, because I'm not too worried about balance for this one. You just focus on pushing all the way up to get the full lock and the gastroc on the way up, and then slowly down, sort of about half the speed right to the bottom, and then drive again. So you're after power with this one. Now this is just for balance. You're trying to hold on, because if you hold on, it's going to make it easier and you're going to cheat. So just use that for a better balance, just working on trying to get as high as you possibly can with that. And you'll notice that, you know, I would probably only go for about 8, maybe 10 reps max, okay? You don't need to go any more than that. And you'll find there's a very quick fatigue rate with your calves, okay? So something to work on. Again, you're going to do either 3 sets in one go, okay? So left, right, 10 each, or 8 each, whatever suits. But you could also just do 1 set of that and follow that rule of doing 3 rounds of everything over time. But definitely work on those calf raises. We're going to do them again in the run leg, but we're going to do in the solaire, so not working on the gastroc, working on the solaire. So there is another calf raise coming up in part 3. So as mentioned, the chest workout is in the bike leg. Now I put it in the core section because, hey, we're going to do push-ups in this section for chest, and that's very fitting as you have to maintain a plank, which is a core exercise, so it works well in this section rather than the leg section. So first one though we're going to do is chest press, and we're going to do it with a kettlebell. So you need some sort of weight. I like using kettlebells. You can use a dumbbell if you want, but we want you to do single arm work, all right? And this way you're going to focus on a bit more shoulder in the chest. So I put a band around a pole like that. Now that's my lateral load. So this is to increase work rate in the shoulders while you're doing chest, okay? Because you need the shoulder external rotation work, be sitting on those aero bars in the bike. So I want to be able to doing chest work, which is like holding myself in there, so I'm doing chest work, but I want to be externally rotated. I hope that makes sense. So when I do my press, I'm going to do it with an external rotation load, which means I don't have to make this super heavy, all right? So because I've got 2 loads going on here now. If I made that really heavy, it's going to cook my shoulder too much. So this, not too heavy, bit of load here. From this position, you're going to simply do a 1-arm dumbbell or kettlebell chest press. Now, when you're in this position though, when you start, make sure you are protracted, okay? So I want you to protract it here, all right? Because that's going to position you're going to be on the bike. And then when you come down, it retracts first. So I'm going from a protracted scapula, retract, then down on that 45-degree angle. So you can see I'm on a 45-degree angle here. I'm not out here, I'm here. And then pushing up. When I finish, I protract again. So retract, drop down, tap the floor, push back up, protract. And it's pretty simple stuff. Now this will really help for those of you who've got a bit of scapular winging issues to try and sort that out. Is to get your nice retraction going in and then coming down, and when you push up, make sure you get the protraction. With this one, you'll find that this load really starts kicking in around rep 7 or 8, and you can feel that lateral part of that shoulder working pretty hard while you're doing the chest workout. So I love this one because it really helps me with my stability in the upper body, as well as getting a chest press at the same time. So the other thing about doing single arm work is, for those of you who are so used to doing double arms all the time, and hey, we're doing double arm when we do a push-up, but if you're so used to doing 2 arms at the same time with, say, a barbell, like a bench press, you don't get to sort of realize the difference between your left and your right shoulders. And this is where this can come in. I like putting a single arm chest workout in because we do have a double arm one, but the single arm really helps you understand that, hey, you've got one shoulder that's probably stronger than the other, and it's important that you get those differences ironed out. That may mean you do reps and sets, but even just doing, as in more reps or sets on the weaker shoulder, but even just doing single arm helps you with your stability. If you do 2 arms at the same time on a bench, then you won't get the body trying to work out how to stabilize one shoulder versus the other. The single arm you do, and that's where you're going to get the gains from. So that's your single arm kettlebell chest press with a lateral band. Okay, second chest workout is good old-fashioned push-ups, but I've also got an advance and spin for those of you who are quite strong, who can do more. Maybe you're a swimmer and you've got quite a decent chest press. You can do more on your push-up and you want to do something heavier. I've got an advance with a band. I'll come to that in a minute. But I like putting the push-up in, especially for triathletes, because it teaches you a bit of core work and holding a plank at the same time. So as long as you're doing push-up with all your plank stuff, which we learned in the swim leg, then this will work really well for you. So with this one, I always like setting yourself up properly. So when you're doing your push-up, make sure that you are wider than 4 point, okay? So if you think start off where your hands are, just go one hand wider, and that's about right. I don't want you going super wide and trying to do that, because your elbow is going to come in on a 45-degree angle. So start off 4 point, go there, and then come forward, and then step back with 1. So when you arrive, your shoulders should be sitting over your hands. At that point there, make sure you're not lazy through your core. So you turn your core on, get your neutral spine here, okay? Get your transversus on, get your brace on with your core, clench your buttocks, okay? Keep that sort of full plank there. When you come down, it's shoulder blades first, then it's elbows, and then it's elbows, and then it's shoulder blades. Okay, so think retraction, elbow flexion, elbow extension, protraction. Make sure you don't drop or lift that bum. Okay, so keep that on, retract, down, full push up, all the way up. Okay, and just bang in those repetitions. And now if you take your time, you'll realize you're doing a full body core workout at the same time with that, which is really helpful. Like I said, for those of you who need a bit more advanced, if you find you can bang out 12 of those, you're not even cutting a breath, it's fine. Get a power band. Okay, it doesn't have to be too heavy because these are quite brutal when you put a bit of load on. Round your back, under your arms, okay. Put your hands in this way, like that. Then you've got your load, okay. You don't need plates or anything like that. And again, you're still in that plank type position, which gives you more chest work, more shoulder, more arms, but you're still doing some core work. So, same position, exactly the same. You'll find it's easier at the bottom, okay, because the band gets less, but then really hard when you push up, all right? So those ones are really nice to work on to get extra strengthening, takes your breath away, for your chest workout. So we start off a little bit of core work with that push up, but for the bike, we need a little bit of anti-rotation work, especially for the run, but on the bike leg, you don't want too much movement going through from your spine when you're powering those legs. So an anti-rotation core exercise is really, really good. What I like doing for the bike leg is a pull-off press. Now, with this one, you can do two different options. What you can work on is doing it in kneeling and simply, you know, an entry level one is getting a little bit of band tension and just pushing out and coming back. Now what that's going to do is help you try and stay center. The band is trying to pull me, rotate me, so I'm doing anti-rotation, but I'm not moving with this one. So this is just for maybe your entry level work where you're just trying to, can I just maintain neutral, keep my buttock on at the back here, so I'm in a kneeling position but this buttock is on, and then just trying to go and push that out. Feel that load kick in. I'm feeling this work here because I'm trying to rotate left technically because the band's trying to rotate me right. So as I come back in, load goes off. As I go out, that load on the left hand side comes on. So this one you can work on one side at a time. Helps you with your deficits left and right, especially if you've got some old back problems, maybe on the bike, you're feeling a bit tight one side, maybe it's a bit weak. You can start working on one side more than the other, which will help you stabilize more in the saddle. Now, if that's too easy for you, then you can work on some rotation. So you'll need to step away a little bit more with that because you're going to go from the same position but rotated in. And this time what you're going to do is then rotate your body that way. Now this will require way more strength on one side and way more stability. So you've got to be stable in that first position and then start working on some rotation. And I can feel that working really well through my left hand side abdominals to help me rotate that way. So this will help just increase that strength on one side, and of course flip around, get your 8 to 10 reps on each side, change legs, get that right band tension, and then you'll notice that I've got to stay nice and parallel and then pivot around, and you'll feel that work on the other side. Try and make sure that your shoulders are facing your hands, your head is facing your hands. So don't sort of move your hand, leave your head behind, don't twist your body, just keep everything rotating together. So you're working that top half as a unit, and you'll get that really good work on one side through your abdominals. So that's your advancement of the rotation. Okay, last